Today, I welcome all our participants of the course of Scientific Foundation of Ahimsa. We are very much glad to have Professor Rajmal Jain for this particular talk of today. And he is the main leading professor of this particular course. I would introduce a little bit about Professor Rajmal Jain. Dr. Rajmal Jain is the former professor of Physical Research Laboratory, Department of Space, Government of India. He is principal investigator of Solar X-ray Spectrometer mission of ISRO. Currently, he is an outstanding professor of IPS Academy, Indore. Professor Jain is the founder president of Ahimsa Mission Foundation, Ahmedabad. He is advisor and honorary professor, Space Education Research Foundation, Ahmedabad, lifetime member of International Astronomical Union and Committee for Space Research, Paris, France. He is a former president of Indian Association of Physics Teachers, Gujarat. He is editor of Journal of Space and Radio Physics and Asian Journal of Physics. He is visiting professor of the National University of San Marcos, Lima, Peru. He is a national vice president of Sri Bharatvarshi Digambar Jain Mahasabha, India, and state president of Shuddh Samvardhini Mahasabha, Gujarat. He discovered iron and nickel in the solar corona. He is fellow of Royal Astronomical Society, UK, and recipient of Lifetime Achievement Award from Government of Madhya Pradesh, India. So I extend my warm welcome to Professor Rajmal Jain, who is the leading scientist of his field and also of this particular course. I welcome him and I would request him to deliver his talk of today. The topic of talk is Introduction to Cosmos and Jain Principles.
Thank you, Samniji. And I extend my warm thanks to all of you and Mataji especially for inviting me to deliver this talk on this very special subject of the scientific foundation of Ahimsa. I have been working since last 20 years in this field, but I started the scientific part from this university only during the Corona time. I would like to start my talk with the prayer. Tubhyam namas tribhuvanartiraya natha. Tubhyam nama kshatitalamal bhushanaya. Tubhyam namastri jagatah parameshwaraya. Tubhyam namo jin bhavodadhi shoshana. Okay, so I would like to have the PPT to show all the participants, start with that. And as a preamble part, I would like to say, to start this lecture series, see, there are many questions regarding our religion, which is known as Jainism. And Jainism, when say that non-violence is an extremely important topic, it is an extremely important component for the humanity as well as to save the environment, climate, nature, and as a whole universe. Okay, well, how it is different than other religions, this component non-violence. Why it is so important? Other religions have been talking about the non-violence, but what is the different? So that is what we have to consider in this whole lecture series, that Jainism actually talks so many important things. Now, the question whether the simple this topic that non-violence is really makes this Jainism as a different
तो ये
religion and this
कॉस्मोस के बारे
Okay. Professor Jain, please unmute yourself. Sorry, and because the participants are muted. Professor Jain.
I am audible or not?
Yeah, you are audible.
So shall I start again?
Yes, yes, because the participants were talking from background. That's why
Okay,
you can, sorry, you can start from.
okay. Anyway, so I don't know, my prayer was heard by everyone or not, but
No,
anyway,
no, no, it was heard, but you can start with the prayer if you like.
okay, yeah. Tubhyam namas tribhuvanartiraye natha. Tubhyam namah kshatitalamal bhushanaya. Tubhyam namastri jagatah parameshwaraya. Tubhyam namo jin bhavodadhi shoshanaya. Adinath Bhagwan ki. I am going to give a lecture series on scientific foundation of non-violence, ahimsa. Ahimsa has been spoken, has been described in many religions over the world. Then how it makes different the ahimsa of Jainism? That is one very important topic. And we say that this ahimsa has many components inside. That is, ahimsa is an integral part of compassion. Ahimsa also includes the forgiveness, forbearance, and ahimsa also includes the truth part. So ahimsa, overall, if you see, it itself is in a bigger way than what we think. Now, whether this is the important part that this ahimsa makes it different from the ahimsa described in other religions, or in a simple way that the Bhagwan Mahavir, he described just in one line, Paraspara Graho Jivana, that is, we have to, I mean, save, we have to, we do not need to harm any life anywhere in the world, in the universe. So it means the whole universe has the life. And that is important part which makes different from other religions. Because in other religions, as well as in the science also, the life is not considered everywhere. While Jainism says that life, that is the soul, consciousness is everywhere in the universe. And if it is so, then the Jainism must have described in its canonical texts, what we call them as a agam, that this important part of the cosmos. And in that cosmos, the life, where does it exist? That should have been also described. And so I thought that first I will start my talk with this cosmos. And let us see how this cosmos universe has been described in Chinese. Now, as soon as we talk about the universe that has been described in Jainism, there are many, many questions because the modern astronomy has done significant work and people generally see in terms of that. Can you go back one slide? And so we have to see the cosmos of the Jainism and compare or discuss in the light of modern astronomy or modern universe. So we have to go neck by neck and ask questions where we differ from the modern astronomy, or on the contrary, where the modern astronomy still has not gone to that extent where the Jainism, that Jain cosmology has already described. whether these descriptions are quantified also, or simply they have been told qualitatively only. So what is there are many such questions. And so first question, I thought in my this first talk where I will dedicate, and so is this religion, Jainism, is really a religion of the earth and cosmic order? That is my today's topic. So I will discuss the cosmos related questions. There are many questions related to the formation, creation of the cosmos and its structure, its I mean, where they are have the life, etc. So let us discuss those questions in the light of the Jainism as well as in the light of modern astronomy. So the first question, next slide. The first question generally is asked: what are the process of the creation and origin of the cosmos? The Jainism has a very clear-cut opinion that this cosmos is an eternal. It is not, I mean, created or it has its own other way origin, something like being talked in modern astronomy that it was a cosmic egg or something. No, there is a very clear-cut opinion in Jainism that it is an eternal in the shape as it is seen on today. It was similarly in the past and it will be in the future. So that this argument, this statement, this original phenomena idea of Mahavir will put many other questions. But basically, the fact is this only. And there is another fact, which is in contrary to the modern science, that Jainism says that it is just controlled, it is monitored, it is managed by the laws of nature and not by any supreme god. No god is there, no supreme power is there. Another, the Jainism says in a very simple manner that this cosmos, this universe, is actually composed basically by the two elements. One is the jiva, that is soul, and that is living material, and the non-living. So we will discuss these issues in greater detail in the next slide. Next slide. And on the contrary, next slide, the science actually says that no, it was created. And it was created from a very small cosmic egg. There was an explosion around 13.8 billion years. That is about 14 Arabs, what we say, approximately that much long back time. And this evolved as a bang, some kind of a explosion of the egg, and the material came out. And there is a long process to describe everything by step, from the microsecond to the millisecond and seconds, and then years and years and years. But they say that there is no soul, no life. This is the first important difference between the science and the Jainism. Jainism, as I told earlier, says that there is a life. The whole universe is fully packed by a soul, while modern science says that it is not like that. Modern science says that it is full of radiation, which is coming from the stars, galaxies, etc., and the mass, which is from the matter. So matter part, that is non-living, they also accept, and Jainism also accept. However, there are certain differences even in that part also, and we will discuss them fully. In the right side, I have shown a picture of a small view of the whole universe, observable universe, and you can see that in the right side, and you can see large thousands and billions of stars are there. So please remember, I have even written the names of the constellations, etc., which can be seen. And now this number of stars is an important quantity in both in modern astronomy and in Jainism also. And that how it helps to us to derive some basic definition that Jainism what says is correct now, and where the modern astronomy in that context exists. Next slide. You have expanded that. Yes, next slide. Okay. The another immediate question comes, okay, what is the configuration of this whole universe, cosmos? Then in our canonical texts, in the Jainism, it has been described that the structure, configuration of the whole universe is just like a Purushakriti. A man stands with his hands folded at the waist and stands, so legs are apart. So that is the lower part, central part where he puts the hands. That is the middle part, and the top part is the upper cosmos. So those important part is definition is like man standing with the his hands folded at the waist. That is some kind of a rough idea one we should have about the structure, about the configuration of the universe. But whether that universe is the only universe, or there is some another universe, or there are many, many such universe. No, in Jainism, I would like to say that that is the universe which we call as a loka, or the real universe, where the activities are taking place, where the matter is also there, where the life, that is the, I told that living material as well as non-living material exists. But whole, that whole loka is actually embedded. It is covered by, you can say, by the, is just pure vacuum, pure empty space, and that is known as trans-universe or aloka. We can see in the next slide that how it looks. You can see here on the left side, I have shown, you can see that this loka, that is what the structure which I told, that of the man standing with the folding hands at the waist. But that whole thing is a very, very tiny, very small at the center of this empty space, which is trans-universe. So now there are two clear-cut definitions appear. The first, the loka has a finite size, although it is very, very large. Okay, you can say millions and millions of kilometers in the size, but that whole thing is just located at the center of this trans universe. Okay, so and the trans universe is totally an empty space, and that is an infinite. It is an infinite, but the loka, the real one, is the finite. Next slide. Next slide. Hello, can you hear me? Yes. On the other hand, in the science, what we see is large number of galaxies. And science says that whole universe is infinite. They don't have any limits at the moment they have put up. They say that it is not finite. It is an infinite. So infinite of their definition comes from the observations point of view, not from any supreme knowledge which Mahavir had, what we call as a Keval Gyan. So this, whatever the observable universe is there, which we call as the observable universe, that is the 13.8 billion, as I told. It has its width in that light years form. So what we can see here, large number of galaxies. When I say large number of galaxies, they are by and large in a fraction they have estimated. And so far for information to all of you, only about 100 galaxies have been really recorded and discovered. But on the other hand, have been estimated more than 100 billion galaxies. So please remember this number, 100 billion galaxies are estimated in the observable universe by the modern astronomy. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now what are the building blocks of the universe according to Jainism? As I told in the beginning, that there are two important parts, the living material and the non-living. Now, living means, as I told, soul. That is one important entity. Now, in non-living, there are five other agendas are there. The one is the particle, that is matter. It is maybe in the small nanograms size or even the pico, femto, very, very small size, which we call as a pudgal, and to the almost size of the mountains. So that is the pudgal. Another matter maybe of the all different types of elements come under the pudgal or the matter. The next, there are two important entities which we call as a force. The medium, it is there. It is of the medium of the motion and medium of the rest. Okay. So this I will come again in slightly more detail, and then space is there. Now, when I talk all these things, that is Jiva, life, matter, medium of motion, medium of rest, and the space, Akasha, they have physical structure. That is why whenever we write at the end Astikaya. Okay. But there is one another entity which is very important, time. And time has no, I mean, physical structure. So it is, we call as a kala or the time. And next slide. Next slide. Okay. So according to science, now there is an important difference. What is the difference? The science says that there is no life exists. Please remember, no soul is there in this universe. Rather, they say that any evolution of life is by biophysical chemical process. That is an important difference. And the others, they say that the whole matter which is there, it is in the form of the energy also, in the form that is dark energy, dark matter also, and the particles and electromagnetic radiation, many all other, and basically what we say in science is the energy. And now three things: energy, momentum, and mass. These three, according to science, they are conserved. Means conserved means not a constant, but the whole quantity is conserved. Means the form may change, but when you take the total, then the quantity will remain same. The same thing, the same thing is talked in Jainism also. That what we say in Jainism, that transformation is a continuous, form may change. And this form in Jainism we call is a paryaya. The paryaya changes. So modifications of anything is keep on, it is a continuous process. For example, the ice is kept somewhere, but under the fridge, it will be seen as a ice. When you will take it outside, then it, because of the temperature, exposure with the temperature heat, so it will try slightly, it will be keep on melting in the form of a liquid. And if you will boil it, then it will become the gas. But the total energy, if you want to say, or the total mass, then it remains same and same. Now, the other thing in the science, in the science, what we say is this energy, when it is, I mean, completely as a in the space, and when it is moving, then what is happening? They say that because of the energy is conserved, momentum is conserved, so the all bigger celestial objects, they are getting some kind of a pressure kick. So pressure, temperature, and density, these three things are very important according to the science, in addition to the electromagnetics, gravity, and radiation fields or forces. Same thing we have by and large in our system also. However, science says that as a consequence of these forces, as a consequence of this conservation, the galaxies are moving away from each other. Now, whether that is the reality or not, that we have to see. If it is a reality, then it should be visible in the cosmos of the Jainism also. So what is the difference in that? Next slide. There is another very interesting in the our Jain cosmos model that we see the curvatures. Slight kinks are there. Very minor. When I say minor, it does not mean that the very small, maybe in millimeter or centimeter. When you consider with the cosmos, then you must know that it is in few thousands of kilometers. So those kinks are there. Now, why those kinks are there and what is the process in Jainism? It is known as Vigraha. Vigraha is because of the two forces. As I told, the force that is medium of the motion and rest. Now, I would like to tell first here the three those important quantities, that is pressure, temperature, and density. Now, when the pressure changes, or temperature changes, or density changes, the force changes. So, force may accelerate the any entity, any reality, okay, say particle, or the matter bigger or smaller depending on its mass, etc. Mass means density, and pressure. It is always, you know that force per unit area, and temperature. Now I just give you one example. Say some molecules are there, and the molecules between my two palms, you can see between my two palms, and when I just press them, so I have compressed those, and so temperature will go up. So but when large number of molecules are aggregating at one per unit area, then the density is going up. When the density will go up, then the temperature will come down, and this is the principle you should remember. So what will happen? If temperature will go down, it means slightly darkness will be there. Okay, and so pressure will apply to the other side, negative side. So those kinds of systems or physical processes are taking place. So between motion and rest, these two forces, so they are taking as per the, entities or the matter at any given location are there, and at that location, according to those conditions of pressure, temperature, and density, vigraha will be there. That is some kind of a tug of war between the motion and rest. So sometimes here, sometimes, but that will, the shape will be there. That is known as curvature. And this has been written in many our canonical texts, the Tattvarth Sutra, our Trilopannati, etc., and Bhagavati Sutra also. So I would like to show how these curvatures compare with the modern astronomy. Next slide. Next, yes. Now I told that these curvatures are there, but even the modern astronomy people, also astronomers thought long back only, almost since 1970s onwards, and they also came out with an idea of the critical density. I told you just now. So they took some kind of a critical density, means a density of the universe in such a way that the observable universe, can be seen, observed, and how it will behave, that when we consider the density more than that or less than that density. So that is the omega, I should say the term, it is a critical density. So if density is more than critical density, more than omega is more than one, then the whole universe appears like a closed one. And that is what the in the top I have shown, the something like a closed circle, football kind of thing. And when it is just one, then it becomes flat. It becomes a flat, and it goes all the way to up to the infinite distance. And when the omega, that critical density, is less than one, then the actually it becomes open structure, just what I have shown at the bottom. Now, if you just pile it, the top as a density higher, at the center omega equal to 1, and at the bottom omega less than 1, then the modern astronomy universe looks by and large almost similar to the universe of Jena. So where is the difference now? Almost, it means what I wish to convey to you, currently, whatever they have considered omega equal to 1, that critical density equal to 1, that flat universe, so more, whatever observable universe is in that part of flat universe, that is omega equal to 1. Only these two are theoretical concepts, but Bhagwan Mahavir had seen, Bhagwan Mahavir had seen with during the Keval Gyan that the actual universe has all these three things. That is the different kind of curvatures, different kind of critical densities. Okay. And number two, what he had seen, what he had seen that within this every one part, every one component, that is omega is higher than 1, lower than 1, or equal to 1, there are many such constellation or many universes might be possible. So what Jain Cosmos model, Jain universe model actually does not believe in a single universe model, rather it is a multiverse. Multiverse means there are many universes, and we will talk, and I will prove that also in just few next minutes. Next slide. Next. Yes. The very important actually, the description is in canonical text Tattvar Sutra and Bhagavati Sutra also, about the rings around the universe. And this is not known in modern science, modern astronomy so far, because according to them, the universe is an infinite. But according to the Jainism, universe is finite, and surrounding the whole universe, that finite loka, there are three rings are there, and not only around the universe, but around the big constellations, just like a total solar system, or a system of galaxies, or our nakshatras, that is constellations. Also rings should be there. That is what has been discussed in our agams. Now there are three rings which are composed of the dense air. That is what we call the very high density particles of the elements, plus the it is surrounded with the water molecules. So it is embedded, mixed kind of a thing. The next actually is elements plus atoms. So the size of the atoms or molecules is reducing. There it was slightly bigger. And the last, that is the most innermost ring, is the, we can say, plasma, or a very thin layer, that is thin. And when we say density is very small, it means it is of the gaseous structure or the plasma structure. When the density is higher and higher, then it is thicker and thicker. Next slide. Can you? Yes. So in this picture, I have shown, and this slide was sent by Mataji also, Samneji. What is that? Can you remove? So you can you bring on the left side so I can show those three rings all around. You can see that you can reduce it. Actually, there is no need to increase. Okay. So the first outermost actually, now there is one important concept which I want to say. The outermost, as I told, is the thicker one. Thicker means its density is very high. So whenever anything which collides it, then thermastika, that bulb, that force which I told, the which gives the motion, or the adharmastika, that is a medium of the rest, etc. So they are playing over here, and these rings play according to their density, and hence because of the density, pressure changes and temperature change. So because of this change in the pressure, temperature, and density, these three quantities, these forces actually ends up. Please remember, they end up, the tug of war stops over here, and this structure becomes. So the top one, middle one, and the bottom, this kind of a structure becomes, means the now outside of this loka, outside of this visible universe of our universe, there is nothing. Everything is finished. There is trance. There is a vacuum. There is a pure empty space over there, which I told that trans universe aloka. Next slide. Now the divisions we should talk. I have been telling that when the critical density is higher than one, then it looks like a top one. When it critical density is equal to one, then flat, and critical density is less than one, then the negative shape, which is the our bottom. Now, if you see really in our Jainism, how we define that the top portion is what we call as the upper loka, and there actually basically what I feel, because as I told also that density is very, very high. Density is very, very high. It means the astronomical objects or what we call Jyotish Deva cannot exist because radiation will not be allowed to enter downside or any side out. Okay. Or what we call as a black hole kind of a situation. But it is, I mean, no astronomical object, no Jyotish Deva exists there. There are only and only aeronautic gods, that demigods, that is what we call as a Vaimanic day. But other on the top of that, on the top of this upper loka, there is a Siddha Shila where the liberated souls go and sit over there. The middle part actually is the where the human and animals live over there. So life in a better way exists only in the middle part, not in the top part, and in the bottom part. On the other hand, the hellish, narkiya, that like kinds of life exists in the. So now how much sizes are there, that is very important, where the whole process goes on in this uh, existence of life, modification of the material, etc. What happens? So this hellish part, what we call as adholoka or the lower cosmos, 7 hells are there, and I will just briefly describe. I cannot go into the longer one. Next slide. Okay, so first important part in this 3 divisions, that is upper cosmos, middle cosmos, and lower cosmos. If you draw a line passing through from the top of the center to the bottom of the center, some kind of a cylindrical tube, then it is known as Trasnadi. But basically, it is not a cylindrical form, but it is a rectangular, the channel kind of a thing. And channel, it is real channel or a tunnel, and where the life propagation takes place. Let us see next slide. Let us see next slide. Yes. So Trasnadi, Trasnadi is what that channel which I showed to you just now, and its a height from the top to the bottom is slightly less than the 13 Raju. Raju is a unit in cosmos, and it is a very important unit. I will tell you in a few minutes what is the how much kilometers or light years of one Raju is there. The length means actually depth, that is inside, that is one Raju, and width like this is also one Raju. So it is basically a some kind of a cubic tube channel, and it actually the life over is also there. So basically we can say 2 cents to 5 cents are there. But what happened then? The 1 cents. So 1 cents life, as I told right from the beginning, even in the introduction part, 1 sense life exists everywhere in the cosmos. So even the trees, sthavar, they are also everywhere outside this Trasnadi. But basically the life propagation is in this channel. So that is very important part. And this recently only modern astronomy has been talking about the string theory, etc. But not, there is no proof. But in Jainism, Trasnadi has been talked in a greater detail. Uh, I will not go into the detail of any component because actually, just like scientific foundation of non-violence, we need a lecture series for the space and time or the cosmos. Almost 20, 25 lectures are required. And I can speak on lower cosmos, upper cosmos, and the middle cosmos itself, four lectures over there. So we have to just discuss and give, I want to give a flavor of the life in this cosmos. Next slide. I want to say something now about the lower cosmos. This is very important because in the lower cosmos, the length actually is a 7, that is the depth. Okay. And this height also is about 7 Raju. And its width is about 4 Raju. How we have described over there. Now, what are the possible lives over there? That we say one sense, then Narki also there, then Bhavanvasi and Vyantardev. Vyantardev means it is Hindi name, but intermediate, some kind of gods. So they are in the lower cosmos as well as in the our middle cosmos also. Similarly, Bhavanvasi also are in the lower cosmos as well as in the middle cosmos. So we should remember that thing. Next slide is now important about next slide. Yes. Now, again, I would like to take a minute to describe again very important concept. If you, as I told you that there are 7 hells in the lower cosmos, and if you see the names, as I can tell, the first very immediate, just below the middle cosmos, the first thing is the Ratna Prabha uh, Dharma, something like that. It is, yeah. But what I wish to say, there is a bright light is there, and you, as you go down and down, the density is increasing. And as I told, density is increasing, then the light will not enter, so darkness will start. And that you can see in the number 6 and 7, that by and large, that corona, that is the surrounding part, is of darkness. Mahatam, tam means darkness. Okay, so Mahatam means highly darkness. In the 6th, tam prabha. Prabha means radiation which is coming outside, or hello, you can say, or in other language, what we call as aura also. So it is darkened. So increasing from the top to last one, it means much more darkness is going on, and going on. This is very important concept. What does it mean? Whatever qualitatively has been written, that we go bottom, that 7th hell, much torturing is there. That is because of the density. And density is very high, but the radiation are not there. So some lives are in some form already have been observed also, and we will see in my another lecture that as we go down and down also. So not only that, the earth, the currently this earth, in this earth, of course, life is there, but here we are talking as a whole cosmos. So middle universe, I mean, below that middle universe, this hell, that is the lower cosmos, is there, and lower cosmos is of very large size. It is not of small. It is much more larger than the middle cosmos itself. Next slide. The middle cosmos, actually, basically, the humans are there. Then what we call as a trianch, that is the animals, etc. They are there, and the Vyantar, that is I told as intermediate gods are there. So they are there in and basically important. I started from the beginning that astronomical gods, that is stars, galaxies, etc. They exist in the middle cosmos. Please remember, this is very important for my talk also, and for all of you to make understanding that whatever you see in the sky, it is only in the middle cosmos, that middle part of. They are not existing in the upper local. And I will prove it also that they are inside this. And I told one more important point, that top portion is of the critical density omega more than 1. So it is in the closed loop, very high density. Uh, okay, so whatever, however, written that these astronomical gods are just between the 790 to 900 yojans. So this definition of yojan is very important. Next slide. I will run out of time. These are the basically in Madhya Loka, that is middle cosmos. Uh, Innumerable actually continents are there. This is a very important concept about the middle universe. That is, the land is there, oceans are there. Land is there, oceans are there. So at the center of the whole middle universe, the first thing is Jambu Dvipa. So Jambu is an island. So innumerable islands, continents are there, and the oceans are there. We also don't know correctly. I have seen in many literatures, first eight have been described in many literatures. I have seen even in some 16 also. But these oceans and these continents have been described. Now, if we keep on going, then it will become also innumerable continents, oceans, means it will become, let us say, some kind of an infinite. If it is infinite, then where my earlier definition that the whole universe of Jaina is finite, but it really comes to the finite only, it ends. Why it will end? I explained you because of the tug of war between dharma and adharma. And that dharma adharma tug of war basically takes place as a consequence of variation in pressure, temperature, and density, and the other energies which are conserved, and the mass is conserved, momentum is conserved. So basically, those are the quantities. Now, what we say that in this first two and a half, that is Jambudvip, Ghatki Khand, and half of Pushkar Dvipa, the life that human exists, insan, Manushya exists only in this two and a half. Please remember, just now in next few minutes, we will need this thing. Okay, that human is living only in this. Rest, other single sense, that is virus is there, or the other kinds of life is there. It does not, but the human does not exist in. But the mobility is only within, restricted within that thrust nadi, that thrust propagation. Next slide. I have already spoken all the things by and large that, but you can see it has been described in circular shape, and that kind of thing has not been so far observed. Next slide. Yes. So this is very important. I have just taken as it is from the Tattvar Sutra. I did not get time to translate into the English, but basically what I want to say over here in this Jambudvip, uh, there are extension is very large, but there are many regions, and 7 regions, 6 mountains are there, 6 large lakes are there, and 14 rivers are there. And their names are very similar to what we know, that Sindhu and Brahmaputra and like those kinds of things, Satlaj and Mansarovar, etc. But basically, what I want to say that the detailed description of this middle cosmos has been given in our Tattvar Sutra, Triloy Pannati, Triloy Sar, etc. Much. And scientists, not only Indian, I would like to blame Indian scientists or outside, but we have not used this content, and we are not able to discover, rather whatever with the help of the telescopes or by the satellites, we are going keep on doing that and that only. I will say just next slide. Can you go? And that is very important. See that three, that is the Bharat Kshetra, Vidya Kshetra, and the Eravat. The three. And now, as I told earlier, how it is distributed in the form of a circular outside and outside. And the Jambu Dweep, that is the first one which is inside. And at the center of this Jambu Dweepa is Meru Mountain. Now, mountain, when I say immediately mountain, means we all should consider that the high density area. And it is a clumped, it is extending outside to the very high altitude. Now, see, very surprisingly, I don't know how this has been done, but the distribution of all these seven zones, which I told just in the previous slide, these seven zones are distributed by latitude, not by longitude. See, very surprising and very interesting. Please remember, distribution is by latitude from north to south. In north, Aravat is there, okay? In the center, that is near the equator, Vide, where this at the equator and at the center, Meru Parvat, and at the bottom, that is in the south, Bharat Kshetra. Please remember, this is very important phenomena, and every zone has 5 Malech and 1 Arya zones, where the humans and all these are taking taking birth, etc., and doing all the activities. But this part, if it is correct, then this should have been explored much earlier. Why this distribution is at the latitude? Now, as a function of latitude, so now the environmental conditions also at the north are different, south are different. And at the equator, Videh Kshetra, they are almost homogeneous. So in the Videh Kshetra, there are no much changes, no much modifications, neither in the geographical, topological, or environmental anything. And because of the very good homogeneous conditions, it is much more livable relative to the even Bharat or Aravat. So that's why people say that they still some Tirthankars or they are doing meditation, tapasya mein. We have wahan par, they are there and they are doing the lot of meditation. And the next, the Tirthankars are likely to be take place from that side. But Videk Kshetra is the most important for the finance meditation point of view, because the suitable conditions all the times are always there. Now, why? Because it is the temperature, pressure, and density which I told. Now, if you go just to the Bharat Kshetra, then you will see, I told you that what we see in the Madhya Loka, middle cosmos, what we see, all the astronomical gods, that is all the stars, constellations, galaxies, everything exists only in the middle cosmos. And while the middle cosmos is a very small, it is 900 yojans it has taken from the upper side, 900 from the bottom side. That is total 1800 yojans. But surrounding is very, very large. That is this peripheral area. And so whatever we see is within this. It means yojan should be very, very large, not only few thousands of kilometers, but the tens of thousands of kilometers. Next slide, can we go immediately, very fast? Hello? Yes, so here I have given some measurements of the universe, and I say that how much middle cosmos is of this size and that size. And basically, you can see that the total volume of the whole universe, that is upper cosmos, middle cosmos, and lower cosmos, is 343 cubic Raju. And we say that 7 Raju minus 900 has gone to that side, and 700 minus 900 from the top side. So total 1800 yojan is the height of the middle cosmos. Now, total height from the top to bottom is the 14 Raju. Next slide. I would like to give you some numbers. Now, this is the actually the whole universe which we are talking modern astronomy people, and this what we call as a HR diagram. All the number of stars, galaxies, they have been distributed on this as a function of temperature and their luminosity. So you can see from the left side that the top stars, they are of the young stars, they are blue stars, and they have very high temperature. And the star goes as a function of age, old and old, then it becomes a red giant, or it goes the red dwarf or blue dwarf, etc. Now, where is this such large number of this HR diagram stars where? But it is very simple. According to the Jain Cosmos, they are very close, only in this middle cosmos. They are not in the upper or in the bottom. So everything, whatever the astronomers are talking, now we realize We are talking only in the Madhya Loka, middle cosmos, not anywhere else. And whatever we are seeing currently, observable universe is only from the Bharat Kshetra and not outside. Next slide. Next. This is what is our own galaxy. And this is what we see from the Bharat Kshetra. Okay. We have not gone, no scientist has gone to Vidya Kshetra or Eravat so far, even in our Jambudvip. Outside Jambudvip, Ghatki and other continents, it is very far. Recently, only whatever or whatever currently we are talking is only from Bharat Kshetra. Satellites are going only in our Bharat Kshetra, and whatever we see, some scientists misleadingly told that the center of our own galaxy, Milky Way, is the Meru Parvat. Maybe there Sumeru Parvat is that, but that is also not there, because I will show the just in few next slides that that is not possible. Uh, yes, here it's. I will take a few minutes over here, okay, to tell you something important, very important. If you see here, the 2.5 continent, what has been shown that the how many moons, how many suns are there. That is for Jambu Dweep. Many people ask me many times that there are two suns and two moons are there. General, this is general question, and but they forget that it is talked about the whole Jambu Dweep, in which 7 different zones are there. Okay. Number two, if you see how many planets are there, how many constellations, and how many stars. This is important. Can you just read the number of stars? I have done at the bottom some calculation, because the unit is 10 to the power 14. And if I do a total calculation, then it comes into the something like a 10 to the power 19. Okay. And total about the 1.33 into 10 to the power 19. Now we say one galaxy has 10 to the power 11 stars. One galaxy by and large has a 10 to the power 11 stars. It has been measured also. It has been by and large quantified also. So it means in Jambu Dweep itself, 10 to the power 8 galaxies are there. How many? 10 to the power 8 galaxies are there, means 10 crores galaxies are there. This is a very big number. This is not a small number. And if you just take a total of this 2.5 continent, then it will be of the order of about 9 billions of galaxies. And if I go now, integrate or take summation over all the 8 continents or 16 continents, because it is goes by 2 to the power n. The number of continents goes by in mathematical order by 2 to the power n, and that if I consider, then it will be more than 100 to 1000 billions of galaxies. Just see, that is all we are talking in the middle universe. This is what the Jainism says with quantitative numbers. Okay. And what the astronomers have simply estimated in the observable universe, that there might be 100 billion galaxies, and out of that only 100 galaxies so far have been discovered, or maybe nowadays even up to 200. There is a complete list. But what Jainism says, that there are large numbers of galaxies. It means what? It means the Bharat Kshetra itself has a small universe, or Jambu Dweep itself is a universe. Ghatki Khand itself is a one universe. So it is a whole Jainism model. Even in the middle universe, that is middle Madhya Loka itself is a multiverse. It is not a single universe. Please remember, this is a very important conclusion. And because out of that, that is in upper and in the lower cosmos, there are no kind of astronomical gods. So where, next slide, next slide. So very important, whatever I told, I have written over here, but the single sense are everywhere in the universe. Now there are 4 different kinds of, that is what we call as a 4 Nikaya, 4 residential kinds of gods are there, and where they exist. This is very important, and I request all of you, recommend all of you, you should remember that the first of all, the one kind of Bhavanvasi, that is the residential we call, they live in the lower cosmos as well as in the middle cosmos. Then Vyantar, that is intermediate, which I told. So they also live in the lower cosmos as well as in the middle cosmos. And the Jyotish, that is the astronomical, that is only in Madhya Loka, that is middle cosmos. It has been written in many, many books and again that the stars, galaxies, planets, everything is in the middle universe, not anywhere else. And Vaimanic, that is aeronautical, I should say, that is in the upper cosmos. So this is very important. And now they everywhere in this, at least one or the other form of the life exists, of course, in the upper, middle, and the lower. But the humans and animals, Triansh, everything is in the middle cosmos. Other gods, where they are, this Vaimanic, that is aeronautical, generally we have been talking in many that aliens. So aliens basically are those kinds of gods which are moving all the time in some kind of uh, a aircraft kind of a structure. Okay. Okay. So I finish over here up to the cosmos part. And do I have 10 minutes? Samniji,
Yes,
I have 10.
yes, you have time by
Okay.
9:30 p.m. of your time.
Okay. So because I want to finish time part, space I have finished, I want to finish the time. Next slide. Now I will go to the time. Uh, and time is of the, in Jainism only. Even in any other religion, time has been defined in the two components. And I and Dr. Anupam Jain, we wrote one article which was chief editor as a Samniji when she was in uh, Ladno uh, University, Ladno Vishwa Bharati. Uh, that article was there, and I have already sent also that article to you
Yes.
because it was published later in an Journal of Archaeology and Culture. So I have sent that article. See, and we did is a mathematical connection relationship between the absolute time and the behavioral time. So absolute time is a Nishchay call, and that is always fixed up with some kind of a astronomical event or some kind of a mileage event, where you always can refer, okay, the time starts from this kind of the clock. Say, for example, the revolution of the earth start, rotation of the earth, or the rotation of the sun on its axis, or revolution of the sun around the center of the galaxy. Those kind of things are motions, or the start of time is absolute time, nishchayka. While the time, when I say at what time your lecture will start, at what time I will leave my house, at what time I will join my this work. So that is all day to day and time, hour to hour functioning, and that is behavior. Our daily requirement, that is the time known as our Vyavhar Kal. So that the behavioral time is a something which can be measured from the unseen by we make our own instrument, and that is what we call clock. So we measure from our own specific things. We don't consider that time very precisely from, and rather we make the clock atomic clock, this kind of clock, or from the incidents that okay, shadow is there, or the sunrise, sunset, etc., where the few seconds here and there may be there. But the absolute time is the real time, where the clock itself is the universe. Okay, next slide. Okay, here I would like to say, so in the behavioral time, that there was a very much highly discussion was there. Okay, what is the least time? What is the most minimum time where we will start? And it was a very, I mean, a point of discussion in all religions. So many other religions took a very, I mean, rough estimate of this. But in Jainism, it was a point of discussion that what we call as a smallest time as a one samay. Samay. Samay means not this samay. time, but it is a unit of a time of the smallest, that movement. Now, but what is the quantitative definition of that samay? Nobody knows. And it has not been written in the epics, in the canonical texts. Okay. What is the exact number as of today's clock? It is not written. So then this was, but how we were told that, okay, the smallest time is the samay. And if we say the lowest, some combination of those samayas, okay, and we compare in some kind of a groupism, packets. We say packets of the time. Okay, so Jaganna Yukta. Yukta means combining. Okay, and that is in of samayas that we call as a avalika. So still there is no definition. It is some kind of a qualitative definition that packets of samayas is one avalika. Up to here, it is all qualitative. Now, see, this was important, but it was never defined precisely in mathematical formulation. But for avalikas, then it goes to the breathing that I took the breath. So breathing time is very small, but that is this many number of avalikas it was counted. Now, how it was counted, that description is missing, but the number is known, and we also started considering these numbers, and then we reached finally to, as I told in the article, Mahurat. Mahurat is the real basic definition which has been given in all many religions, and that is 48 minutes of present time. So 48 minutes, if we consider, then total 30 Mahurats is 1 day. That is 24 hours. Okay. And that is some finite number which we know as of now also. And the astronomers, our Indian astronomers, they also knew in the past. I strongly recommend all of you to read that article, because we had done a lot of work in that, in converting this way different kinds of units of different religions also in the modern units. So the next slide I talk is a very interesting thing. Next slide. Yes. Sorry, I could not read. Uh, there was a one definition came that, okay, the smallest time will be an atom of an element, whatever the time it takes to cover its own diameter, or time taken by it to complete its own diameter and the length. But there was a question that every element has a different size of the atom. Say manganese, iron, copper. So everyone has a different. So then there was a one suggestion also, we can take the electron, because electron is almost always of the same and same size. But then electron, I don't know whether you all of know or not, electron, which we consider in Jainism as a life, it is a charge. Okay, electron, whenever we consider how much current is going, means number of electrons passing per unit time in a wire, and that is motion, and that is considered as a life. But then the electrons was always move like this. I told one word in curvature, vigraha gati. So electron never goes like straight like this. Electron, it is slightly naughty. बच्चा जब छोटा छोटा naughty, the electron moves like this. So also then there was a problem. So finally, but anyway, Parmanu Kal was defined of one standard element, and they told that whatever the time which is covered by this, we will call as a one samay or one. And then next slide. But we did another very important work, considering back inside in that whole relationship of the table of the units. What we did is we knew Mahurat at 48 minutes. And then whatever avalikas were given, we considered equal to that, how many avalikas will be there. And then we finally converted that how much 1 second, and one this avalika will be there. So one avalika we found that 176 microsecond. See, very small. Even avalika is so samayam should be much smaller. And the same thing, our great scholar, Dr. Mahendra Moniji, he also considered this work calculation of the samay in terms of the seconds, and he, as you can see, the number that 176 microseconds, he also got the same number 1.764, and 10 to the power minus this much seconds is one samay. But basically, this uh, whole definition, what I want to say here, this time, this 1 second in Jainism is very, very important, because whatever we say, when all the karmas, positive, negative, everything is finished, and your soul is absolutely pure, then mathematically it is defined as a delta function. Delta function means straight perpendicular, no side lobes. No side lobes means no karma, no positive, no negative, nothing. Soul becomes completely pure, and finally nothing is there, and the soul goes directly of such, when it is pure, then goes directly in one samay to the Siddhashila. That is the concept over there. And that concept through the Trasnadi, it is like that, it goes to the Siddhashila. So it means many still there are works which need to be done, how it happens, and mathematically, yes, we can derive qualitatively what has been told by the Keval Gyan, that how the Ath Praptim takes place, that can be explained, but scientifically it has to be still worked out. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. Now what happened that when we were doing the conversion of units, then we came to know about, because I was doing for my satellite work for solar X-ray spectrometer, I was calculating the large number of small sizes of particles, and that will collide with my detector sensors. And I wanted to discover this iron and nickel. So everything, whole spectrum should be very pure, clean, and that will be first time in the world, etc. So I was very much concerned about small particles particularly. So I calculated based on the Planck units, and Planck actually derived, this is very important. Please remember, Planck actually was some kind of, I should say, a Jain scholar, or he was much more than that, like a Tirthankar. Okay, he already discovered that there should be smallest units of the four things, that four agenda. He told that there should be smallest length, there should be smallest mass, there should be smallest time, and there should be smallest all the size, something which travels inside the space. See, he already knew. Let us forget whether he read the Jainism, because the our literature had already gone in the this what we call uh, to the uh, I mean in the Europe, near Germany and all that, it was spread over. And what people say that from 1910 to 1950, whatever the Nobel Prizes came, including the Einstein, but based on the Jain literatures, etc. Anyway, let us forget all these things. Let us not go into that. But this is a very important. When we calculated all these, taking the constants from the Planck constants and all that, so we found that whatever he has described, this mass, length, time, etc., they are very close to the, see, 10 to the power minus 44 seconds. See, that is the very close to what under the guidance of Acharya Sri Kanak Nandi, we calculated, Dr. Prabhat and me. It is very close. 10 to the minus 43 and minus 44, they are pretty close by just one order difference. Then this, whatever the length we described, calculated, it is a 10 to the power minus 35. So here also it is 10 to the power minus 35. And 21.7 microgram is the minimum mass, that is Planck mass. So based on that, then we thought that there is a interaction. There is an interaction between the soul point to the space point. See, so what should be the size of or the mass of that one soul point inside our body? So we calculated about that 1.36 microgram or something is the mass of the soul, considering that matrix of that thing. So all those details, when we talk about other subject related to that, we can go into the equations and I will tell you how we can do. But basically, all these things are pretty close. And considering that, then when I started to calculate that if there is a wave which interacts and it goes all the way to the space point, and when it returns with the reflection and the tejas particles, that plasma particles, and then how the karma bandh takes place. So I have derived almost some kind of a theory by considering the Traube Herring waves, which are recently discovered, that which actually convey the message of the mental state, that thought waves we call is the infrasonic waves, and we come to the same almost close calculations over there. So next slide. Can you go to the next? Yes. So as I told in my earlier, that yojan is always in discussion and we are never able to fix up the yojan. But if you know that Gurudev, when he wrote this Triloy Pannati, I think Yash Yash Yashvrati, something named like that, who wrote the Triloy Pannati. He was a student of this Aryabhatta. Okay, and Aryabhatta was of this Brahmagupta. So those people were really expert, and they calculated this yojan equal to this much miles based on the calculation of Earth diameter. See, at that time, almost you can say 1400 years back from today. And at that time, they discovered that this much should be the size, the diameter of the Earth, and that was derived by them is a 7905 miles. And now modern astronomers have discovered 7917, almost same. You see, that is 12,742 kilometers. So at that time, there were no computers, no calculators. Everything was being done by the observation of stars and by the hand calculation. Now, Professor L.C. Jain has calculated. What we did, myself and Dr. Anupam Jain, what we did is we came to know that this actually any unit is divided into three parts, just like millimeter, centimeter, meter, like that. Yeah. Though that is yes, yes, what we call you should they pramana means yojan, then atma yojan and pramana yojan. Three categories are there, starting from. So pramana yojan is the largest one, and we calculated, and then we considered with the moon also. See, and we found that 7,000 and like that, almost of kilometer, which was close to, not very close to, but what Professor L.C. Jain has. And previously, other people told it is one yojan is about 500 kilometers. It is not that. And one Raju now, if you consider how many one Raju must be there, the whole height of this our.
Mr. Rajman, please unmute yourself. Professor Rajman Jain, please unmute yourself. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Since how long I was unmuted?
No, just hardly 1 minute, not one.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. I don't know, but how it happened.
Uh,
Okay, one
yes.
Raju we calculated is 10 to the power, is it 23 kilometers? One Raju equal to 10 to the power 23 kilometers, and that comes around 1.5 giga light years. Okay, so Raju is not a very small unit, it is very big. And so when we say that 14 Raju, although we say numbers very finite, in a very strict manner, that our cosmos total height is this 14 Raju, means you can now find it out, the height, you can find it out, the volume, etc. And that is what we say as a finite. And outside that, it is totally the empty space over there, which is, as I told, the trans universe. Next slide. Now I would like to convince all of you. Next slide. I would like to convince all of you that how our Jain time cycle or times which are described in our canonical text, how they are correct and how they are precise. You see, in many traditions, the 27 constellations are considered. It is only religion, Jainism, where the 28 nakshatras, 28 constellations are considered. And that is a very small constellation, Abhijit is added in there. And by this adding just very small, so what here is the name of the in the first column number, second column, the name of the constellation, then the modern name, and then Mahurat, how much its width is there. So moon, how much takes the time to cross the whole constellation. It is Mahurat in the Mahurat unit. It is written over here. So you can just say 9 Mahurats, 9 into 48 minutes. But that is very important. That is what finally, whatever the Mahavir must have told to his students, pupils, and then finally it came to the Bhadrabahu. And Bhadrabahu, then when he completed his all calculations, then it came out that this one lunar month is 27.31 that days. See, the modern science also says 27.31. And earlier by the other, when you consider only 27 nakshatras, then there was a lot of mistakes, plus minus here and there. Now 27.31, and he also further told that 67 rounds are there, 67 times when you do, then it becomes 5 years. The total so many number of 1860, this many number of days are there. This 5 year, you will ask me, all of you, oh, what happens? How it is important 5 years? I told that in this whole universe, even a single sense, the life is there in the whole universe. Please remember, irrespective, upper, middle, or the lower. And so life has an interaction, that is what, and the life has an interaction with the all components of the universe. And if it is so, then we came with the idea that even on the earth also, this should be visible of that 5 years period. Because I had been to the South America where the Maya civilization was there, and it was written because they were great astronomers, they were very intelligent, they were great mathematicians, and it was written about the 5 years, the yuga, that is the period which has interaction with the different components of the earth. So I thought that if it is so, then I should see the effect of that 5 years in the hydrosphere. Pani ke andar, in the water, I should be able to see. I should be able to see in the atmosphere also. I should be able to see in the cosmosphere also. I should be able to see on the sun also. This 5 years, this influence, it means it is calculated through this passage, but the constellations are much, much above. Okay. And the period is calculated through the passage of the moon. So what we did, can we go to the, hurry up, next slide? So what I did, I went to the Indian Institute of Technology at Guwahati, and thought that if it is so, then I should consider the uncontaminated data of Brahmaputra River. Many of you who are not from India must be knowing about, if you know, Brahmaputra is a river which comes from the Mansarovar from the Himalaya side. Okay. And it is a very pure, uncontaminated data flow of that we considered of the last 100 years data. The Professor Subhash Datta he had, and we then applied the mathematical model that what we call as a Fourier transform power spectrum, and we cleaned all the water levels and data uncontaminated, mathematical filtration also. And I will not go into that details how we did, but you can see that the 5 years periodicity in the Brahmaputra is already there. So in hundreds and thousands of years, data, because is only hardly 400 years. Now we have started regular measurements, etc., near Arunachal Pradesh, from where that side the river comes. So what I wish to convey, not go to next, please stop there. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm lagging behind the time, but next 5 minutes on. But same thing, I have not received the plot from the National Institute of Technology from Surat, but there we conducted another experiment, but the time is not such 100 years. It is only for 50 years data, but in the atmosphere. And in the atmosphere also, in the atmosphere, total electron content, that also shows the 5 years periodicity. On the other hand, the sun shows, of course, because of the sunspot cycle, 11, 12 years, but there is a 5 years periodicity, even in the solar data, solar energy. There is a 5 years periodicity, even in the cosmic rays. Who has done? It means all the whatever has been written, at least this is direct evidence, whatever the at least informations have been given in our canonical texts, the agams, it looks that much more correct also. Only we people have to explore the what are the way to find out the other parts. Just like I told that the rings around the universe, still nobody has given attention. At least we can see around some big celestial objects or the constellations also. Next slide. So time cycle, Kal Chakra. I'm coming, you see, from the microsecond, femtosecond, 10 to the minus 44 second samaya to the larger and larger time scale. Okay. And here now I'm talking just to finish that we in the Jainism, there is a time cycle has been described, which says that the two cycles are there over the one cycle. One is the ascending phase, the other is the descending phase. Ascending phase is known as Utsarpani and the descending is Avsarpani. And each phase, that is Utsarpani as well as Avsarpani, is further divided into 6 eons. The 6 eons are basically nothing but the climate cycles. And if I do this thing, and in terms of the years, which definition has been given, next slide will give you how many years, because it has been given into the some kind of a unit of Samayo Lamas. In fact, we and Dr. Prabhat, we did a calculation. So we finally came 10 to the power 10 Sagaropalamas equal to 4.2 years. And so it comes to the almost one Sukma is of 16,000, 1,68,000 and like that. And then next 1,20,000. Oh, no, please don't go. And like that, if I go, then 4.6 lakhs a year, and total Utsarpani, Avsarpani is 9.2 roughly about lakhs of years. Now the important question, next slide. Now go to the, now if I go on the 10 lakhs of year, 1 million year temperature scale, then I found, you see, I found real data analysis that the growth of temperature was only 0.4 degrees centigrade in 1000 years. And so for first 4 lakhs of years, no mind development was there. And the modern science people have discovered that the mind actually in the human beings came only in last 40,000 to 4 lakhs of years. And why it came in last 4 lakhs of years? Because then suddenly the temperature rise started 1 degree centigrade, almost 2.5 times. And this other parameters almost remain constant, that is during the descending phase of that thing. So this gave me an idea. Next slide. Next, hi, this is the last slide, okay? And this is the distribution of temperature over the last more than 4 lakhs of years, that is 400,000 of years. Each is about the span is 50 thousands of years. And if you see that the carbon dioxide emission, the temperature background and is there. And this we did on the whole sample was brought from the Antarctica by the Russian people, and it was analyzed at various places, including even our laboratory also. Now this blue thing is the temperature over the last 4 lakhs of years. The green is the carbon dioxide and the red is the dust. What I wish to say that after every 1 lakh of year, that is what has been described in our Kal Chakra also, that how it changes. And there is a decrease in temperature in such a way that on this earth, actually everything was frozen and the ice was frozen to the almost of 8-story building. So that is the largest after every 1 lakh year, what we called as a large glacier maximum was taking place. But the humanity which was discovered in the Ethiopia almost 5.5 millions of years. But the Lucy, which was her fossil was discovered, I personally went there and I have discovered also that there was no mind. There was no brain at that time. And why there was no brain? Because of that temperature, which I told 0.4 degrees centigrade. As soon as the temperature became suitable, 1 degree centigrade steep rise, then the mind started and the people started to do. So that's why the what we see, the Mahabal story is available up to that is the 10th icon earlier to Rishabdev. That is, and so all you can distribute and see on this up to the Mahavir time, how the temperature and whenever the temperature was down at that time, only very poor civilization was there. I have translated everything of the events on the modern cycle, that is what we call as a Paleolithic era, Neolithic era, and on the Jainism time scale, what we call as a Avsarpanikal is there. And in Avsarpanikal, whatever the events took place, all have been depicted by the calculation that this happened this time. So this is the what basically, if you analyze in terms of the modern also and see if the data is available, then the whatever has been described in our canonical text, also you can match by and large with the error bars in both the sides, in the modern as well as in the Jainism side. We have to consider all these things. So, but what I wish to say, and I will continue the principles of Jainism in my next talk in the environment. I have already been discussing many things over here, but one thing we should not forget, this all things are, or all the data which is available, it is because of the interaction of life with the matter. That is, Jeev and Ajeev interaction is there. If it were not there, which has been described in the canonical text, then we cannot discover so many important things. So what I can conclude that yes, Jainism is basically a religion of the earth and cosmic order, because it is the only religion which talks about the life or everywhere. It is the only religion which talks about the protection of the nature, components of the nature, and the whole universe also. So let me talk now next time in the next on the next Saturday about the environment and the principles, etc. Principles of Jainism by and large will be covered in every talk, because finally I have a connection with the principles of and ethics and tenets. Okay, next slide. I think literature is there. Okay, thank you very much. And I have already maybe in the next slide some literature which has I have considered for the this talk also is written in this, and you can have this. Any questions are there? I can address your questions.
So thank you very much, Professor Rajmalji Jain, for discussing about the space-time cosmic structure of Jainism in the light of science. And it is really very informative talk, very interesting. And it is really showing that Jainism is really what it has presented. It is also being verified by the scientific studies of today. I would request all the participants to ask any question if they have in their mind regarding the talk. Professor Rajmal Jain is with us to answer to the questions. Yes, Tarang Jain, you can ask. You can unmute yourself.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
It was really a very deep communication, and I will need a lot of time, and a lot of topics were there, and I will need a lot of time to understand all these things because a lot of knowledge was there, a lot of information was there. One question that came to my mind is when we talk about Meru Parvat, and we see the height of this Meru Parvat is 140,000 yojan. And that is the height considered for Madhyalok in Agma. And you have said that 1800 Yojana is the height of Madhyalok, 900 above, 900 above in the Urdhulok and 900 in the Adholok. So I want to know how you have considered it as 1800 Yojana and not as 1,40,000 Yojana.
Yeah, very good. That's what ambiguity is there, but it is not actually 1800 yojan has been described in few texts, and in Tattvart Sutra it is 1,40,000. That is the altitude of that Mount Meru.
Height, yeah.
So there are two differences, height and altitude. Okay. So altitude of that Mount Meru is 1,40,000 yojan. So when you consider to give some data about the height and all that, you have to give, of course, 1,40,000, which I have. If you know that slide where I had written in Hindi about 1,40,000 in the yojan about Mount Meru. So about that Madhyaloka, particularly of Jambudvip. You say height comes of that altitude is of Mount Meru is in the Jambudvip, and Jambudvip itself is at the center. And if any highest altitude is there, that will be for the whole Madhyaloka, because rest is only the spreadsheet. You know that like this, they are spreading continents, ocean, continents, ocean. There are no big mountains. There are mountains, but not big as Mount Meru. So Mount Meru actually defines the real altitude, actual height. So it is 1,40,000 yojan. There is no doubt. That is correct. You are right.
One more question is there.
Yeah.
When you have talked about Kal, then you have said that total Kal of these 4,82,000 years or something like that, which I remember currently. But what I know, it is a innumerable number. It is a very big number. Suppose I talk about the age of Adinath Bhagwan. It was in Purvas, which is in Koda Kodi. In fact, 10 is power 4, above 10 is power 14 years. So how can we say that even when we say that fourth Kal is so much big, third, second, and first were quite bigger than the fourth one. So how we can conclude that only this much years are there only in this Kal? 21,000 for fifth one and sixth one is fine. That's okay.
No.
But for first, second, third, and fourth, I'm
No,
not
actually,
able to
madam,
get that
I'm sorry, what is your name? I missed it.
Tarang Jain.
Okay, actually, many things in Jainism which have been described, they go as a function of 2 to the power n. Okay, so when I say 2 to the power 0 means here when I say 21,000 is the initial state, and so when it comes as 1, then 20 next is also 21,000. Okay, so similarly when it goes 2, then it becomes 42,000. So if I can go back to that table, or they will distribute you all this PPT to you, you can see. Okay, so finally it will go into the multiplication of 2 everywhere. And then you can derive that how bigger and bigger. Sukma was the largest one. Okay?
Yeah.
These numbers have been calculated very precisely. And
I will try to.
whatever
You
Koda
have your
Kodi,
papers,
etc. No, let me complete. Whatever you told Koda Kodi, etc. They have to be also translated on modern time units, and that is what we have done also.
So I would
Yes.
like to know about the papers on which this information is there, in which papers we have written.
I think I think I
Yes,
have sent the article. Article has been big article of some 32 pages has been sent to Mataji, and she will definitely upload those articles. And I have written a very, I mean, novel article on Rishabh Dev when Ashtapad discovery was going on. So That
Yes.
I think I strongly recommend you to read that article also. So you will come to know about these units. We should not exaggerate those units which have been written in other forms. We should be very, I mean, honest and while writing the things and calculating the things. See, if I do one, Bhadrabahu, when he found a small error in 27, and when he did consider just one, okay, one more nakshatra, okay, Abhijit, and then everything became very clear. So, and this he was told by the pupil and the students, I should say sadhus, or from one guru to next to the Bhadra Bahu very clearly, but others did not consider, and he considered, and he got the very good results. And the same thing. I don't know. I should must tell you that Rishabh Dev was not only on this earth in India only. He went all the way to the South America, Peru also.
That's
बोलते हैं
true.
ना, he was a king of छह खंड के राजा थे, right? Shatkhand. So that is the 6 continents on this earth, and he went everywhere. If you know that Hemchandracharya Sutra, okay, if you read that article about the Ashtapad, that there is that article is there, and that verse is there, Sutra, in which it is written very clearly that Rishabh Dev wandered, or I say she walked all on this earth for 1 lakh year. It is written time, okay, so much period. So I mean, we should consider with all those whatever you say, Koda Kodi, etc., but on the real terms, how much actually comes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Jai
you,
Jine.
Professor.
Jai Jinendra.
Rajmal. Yes. Now Hansa Shah, she wants to ask something.
Yeah, Hansaji. Hello. Please
Hansa,
unmute.
yeah, you should unmute.
Jai Jinendra, Professor, it was an excellent lecture, wonderful.
Jai
And
Jinendra.
yes, but most important thing I would like to hear is about our soul, because all these other discoveries are happening, but soul के बारे में हम कुछ जानते नहीं. सोल यहाँ से बॉडी को छोड़कर कहाँ जाता है और कैसे
Next.
पूरा.
Okay. Thank you. But this is today is the only related to the cosmos. Soul will come in the next few lectures.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Please attend every lecture. So you.
I would. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? Yes, there is some hand.
Anybody
Jai
has any
Jinendra.
question? Yes.
Jai Jinendra.
Professor Rajmal Jain, once again, excellent lecture. The scholars chosen by Samaniji are world-class, brilliant. Their knowledge is so much that the more I learn about Jainism, I realize how little I know and how much more there is to learn. And then applying
What is your name?
my name is Vijay Shah. I'm in Mayali.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
Yes, I'm a member of the Jain Center of South Florida.
Yeah.
From India, Gujarat.
Yeah. I know you. Yes.
Okay, great. So each time I learn something, I realize that my knowledge deepens. And the previous course on the scientific foundations, this course is touching some parts of it, and each course builds on previous courses, and that's great to learn. And it also helps me to understand what I've heard before at the Jain Center by Dr. Deepika Dalal on some of the concepts of the Jain universe that you have spoken about here as well. And I agree the soul is important, but this is also a scientific course as well. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello.
Anybody else wants to ask anything?
Yeah, I would like to ask something.
Ayushi
Yes.
from Germany.
From
Yes.
Germany.
Okay.
Jai Jinendra. I'm studying biophysics, So I was particularly interested in the part where you were talking about Planck and Planck's constant, and how you were saying that he might have had some Jain literature. You also mentioned a paper where you researched it and calculated all the numbers. Where can I find that paper?
Those paper Professor Rajmal Jain has shared with me, and they will be posted today. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you are from biophysics or biochemistry or botany, actually today was the start for the cosmos, but the next, basically it is the foundation, scientific foundation of non-violence. So I will start in the next 1 or 2 lectures, then the all will be related to that only. So
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other?
then
Okay. Okay, so just one thing I wanted to say, Professor Rajmal Jain, when you have talked about the structure of Dharmastika, Adharmastika, and space in the sense of physical structure, do you mean physical as material in the sense, or there is some shape or some structure you mean that?
no, previously I was also thinking that it is just ethical, but
Mhm,
when these curvatures have been talked in the science also,
mhm,
and on the other hand, in our canonical texts, we say the world finite,
mhm.
finite and infinite. For
Yes.
Aloka, it is infinite. But when you say finite, the
Mhm.
word it is written finite. Okay,
Yes.
finite means physical structure should come. Okay,
Yes.
whatever the shape, but it is a
Mhm,
finite. Now, if
mhm,
it is finite, then what are the possibilities by which this can be finite? And
mhm,
we have only two forces which have been described,
mhm,
Dharmastika and Adharmastika.
mhm.
Adharmastika, by and large, you can say gravitational force like thing, and the other Dharmastika is radiative. Now, both the forces depend very precisely on three quantities: pressure, temperature, and density. And they have been, this pressure, temperature, and density applications have been described in greater detail in modern science in different fields. Okay. Now, if you apply all these things, then you can get this kind of, finite thing. Now, only what we need is, somebody has to sit down now and do the dedicated work by applying this only, Dharmastika and Adharmastika. I'm sure that the same part got omega larger than one, that is more than critical density, more than one, less than one, and like. Now you apply and change the whole equation system, introducing these things. I'm sure we can get this vigraha, this different, what we call as a kicks, kicks, jerks, sometimes like this, sometimes here like this thing. So that is, and it is by and large must be changing also, but it remains at one place almost by and large same and same. That is what we say, that uh, total structure remains this, but the microstructures keep on changing. But because of the conservation of mass, momentum, and energy, it is small. And what we hum log dusra, we always present by karmas and all this, that all things will come in my next few lectures after some time.
Okay.
But basically the physics is the controlling part,
Okay.
and that's why
So,
I introduced you to all this, these participants, that they should know and they should learn little bit more. Please read about the pressure, temperature, and density. And when I can discover by doing this much thing, you see, the iron and nickel, the first time in the world, and Dr. Abdul Kalam, when he recommended my name for this FRS award, you see. So, we can do many more things. And
yes.
I don't know why scientists are not considering our canonical texts, particularly if we can discover these rings around the universe. It's a very detailed has been description is given in Tatvar Sutra and others about the rings. You know, I have written in Hindi, I brought in Hindi that slide particularly. Thos, solid. So solid means high density particles are there, means elements, okay, and they are embedded in the water molecule. See, when we discovered India, this water in the moon, on the moon, right? People say, Chandrama pe pani mil gaya. It is not in the form of liquid. It is hydroxyl ion, actually, OH ion. Okay. So that same thing is in that rings, that's what I wish to.
So
Okay.
thank you for these clarifications. And I'm very much thankful again and grateful for coming and for giving this very excellent informative talk. And I would think, I think that all the participants have enjoyed, and I will share all your materials which you have sent just before your talk.
And
So
I would
they will-
like
they will,
participants should ask more questions. Okay. And
Yes. Yes.
it should
If
be
somebody has
interactive
any
talks. So
questions, yeah. If somebody has any questions, they can send
I got one
to
more
email,
question.
and we will forward all those questions to Professor Rajmal Jain, and he will answer directly to all our participants. So thank you for coming and joining again. And yeah, we are very much hopeful to see you in all other next lectures, which are already set in the syllabus according to your own choice. So thank you for coming and joining.
okay. Thank you. And thank you, Charanavandami.
Thank you.
Charanavandami.
Vandami Samaniji.
Thank you. Yes. So,
Vandami Samniji.
thank you. All these participants are joining from USA. Some are, someone is from Germany, someone is from France or China. So you will see, though applicants are more than what they attended, might be some of the participants would see your lecture through online, and some are present in the talk.
Samaniji, it's good to see some of the faces. I'd like to see
Yes.
more.
Yes, there are more than I think 60 applicants, but all are
No,
not.
I also
present.
mean on the camera.
All are
like-
not present here in live discussion. They would see through online.
No, Samaniji, I also mean on the camera during the presentation.
Yes.
It would be nice to see more of the faces.
Yes, so we would request all our participants to open their videos during the time of a discussion or live discussion talks by the scientist and by the speaker. So
At
I
least,
hope
you know,
from
now and
next,
then.
from next talk on, will open their videos. So thank you, all the participants.
Okay, thank you very
And
much
again,
to all of
Professor-
you.
Yes.
Samniji, once again, Charanavandami.
Yes, Professor Rajmal Jain is so much busy, and he has so much invitations from very big places. And instead of that, on my request, and very short notice that he has to come for all these lectures, and he has accepted my invitation. So it is great for me.
It's really
Thank you.
nice. It's
Okay.
really
Yes. Now we are leaving, okay?
Okay, I also have to leave now. Okay, so can I leave now?
Thank you.